Now it's time for the Sarah Show.
Action. Hey guys!
Brad, when did you get here?
I've been here all along, old sport.
Old sport. There wasn't even like an R, it was just old sport.
Old sport. I was hearing the R, I just wasn't hearing the T. Is he calling him a spore?
He's calling him a spote.
Maybe that's just a 1920s thing, like rap music.
Yeah. So we saw The Great Gatsby.
You could tell by our 3D glasses.
You can tell by Brad's 3D glasses. I recycled mine.
It's The Great Gatsby by Baz Luhrmann in 3D with a rap soundtrack, and no one really smokes. They hold cigarettes.
And
they
a
don't
cigar.
really smoke them. Thanks, 2013. I would have quote Spoonie by just saying, "The Great Gatsby sucks."
Oh, I thought you were also quoting Dave, because he can't stand that book.
Nope.
I don't know.
Fuck that book. Fuck Fitzgerald.
Well, I don't know. I seriously don't know much about the book. I don't. I never read the book. I never had to read the book in school. Like, I had to look up what the movie's even about.
Did you never see the 1970s version?
No, I've never seen any of the movie versions. The most I know of The Great Gatsby is Andy Kaufman reading it in his stand-up routine. I mean, I've always known of it. It's just one of those. I never had to read it, so I just didn't read it. But you read it. Was that a faithful adaptation?
Well, what happened was I knew from the get-go that you knew next to nothing about The Great Gatsby.
Yeah.
So I'd read it in high school, and I remembered very, very little, except that I got bored halfway through, so I just read the Cliff Notes and
So the movie is a good
fudged
adaptation.
my way through the... Well, no, I got it off of Audible. They had it read by Jake Gyllenhaal for some reason.
Uh-huh.
And so I think that perhaps listening to it a week before the movie was a bad idea.
Yeah.
Because it was a faithful adaptation in the sense that they just like steal random lines from the book and stick them in other random spots in the movie. And it's like, when you knew the lines were coming, you could feel when they like stopped the movie, read a part of the book, and then okay, the movie can start back up again. I mean, were you noticing that at all?
They were literally showing lines from the book flying at you in 3D, which the 3D was really good. But it made the screen a little dark, but the 3D was good. But I know what the last lines of the book are, so I spend a lot of the times waiting for those lines to pop up.
Yeah, it's like boats against the tide. I'm like, well, get my purse, get my jacket.
Yeah, I was like, oh, thank God, that means it's about over. I don't have much to say about this. I didn't think this was a very good movie at all, but...
Well, then it is time for the Sarah Show.
Yeah, honestly, I don't really know what to say. It's a giant 3D spectacle to tell an insanely two-dimensional story.
Well, the thing about The Great Gatsby, and I was thinking earlier, how angry is Buford going to be when he watches this movie?
Yeah.
Because The Great Gatsby, if you're reading it just for like the surface of the story, you're going to be bored as shit, because it's basically dude falls in love with this vapid cunt of a woman, and she fucks him over and then he dies.
Oh, that's not what the movie's about. The movie is about...
The movie's about, fireworks.
Oh, no, well, yeah, but this movie is about dudes who are clearly in love with each other.
To the one point where they're just mooshing their faces against each other.
To the point to where if it was any more homoerotic, they'd be dressing up like the Andrews sisters. I mean, like...
Well, Narrator Dude is a very, voyeuristic personality. Like, the whole thing is supposed to be, okay... The theme is how... when you're searching for the American dream, it gets corrupted, and it goes from, I want independence and, happiness, to I want enough money that I could gold plate my dog.
Mm-hmm.
And,
it's the American dream.
It's the new American dream. And, it's an interesting prospect to try and modernize that, but they did it so ham-handedly that it kind of became more of I wondered if it was going to be meta, but I think it just ended up being accidentally hilarious.
They show the cover of the book more times than a librarian's probably seen it.
Are you talking about the eyes of Dr. T.J. Pufnstuf or whatever?
I guess the movie didn't do a very good job of explaining
Well, they
things.
just drove past the eyeballs, and then they drove the other way past the eyeballs, and they drove past the eyeballs, and we zoomed in on the eyeballs.
Yeah, a lot. Those eyeballs are in the movie more than DiCaprio is. And the movie's about, it's dudes that really, really want to bang, and they, he pretends like he's in love with this other girl to mask the fact that he wants to bang Tobey Maguire.
See, I think
clearly.
You read more into this movie than I did, and I was trying to read into this movie.
You didn't notice all the 80 minute now they were gonna suck each other's dick?
Normally I'm the first person to notice that, but I wasn't getting that at all.
Really? When he's leaving and
I didn't think anyone in this movie had chemistry with anyone.
Oh, I agree with that. Dear God, do I ever agree with that?
Because I mean, Carey Mulligan, she's a really pretty lady.
Yeah.
And she looked of the era, and DiCaprio was trying like hell to smolder at her, but I wasn't feeling it.
No, I didn't, because he wanted to fuck Tobey Maguire. When
No!
Tobey Maguire was leaving, he's like, "Oh, where you going? Why don't you stay? We can go for a swim."
In the book, he does actually swim with it, but
Oh, I didn't say that was unfaithful to the book. I just said that.
How dare they not make them swim together all shirtless and wet? But
Sweet.
My feelings on Tobey Maguire. I want to punch him in his stupid face.
He had a pouty Tobey Maguire face. He does nothing. He just I can see that where his character's supposed to be very voyeuristic. I didn't get that from the movie. I got that from you telling it to me afterwards. Because in the movie, he's just kind of there. He might as well not be there. He's just kind of just fucking there. And Gatsby's in love with the girl, even though, like you said, they have no chemistry together in any way, shape, or form. The only character in this movie who's relatively three-dimensional is really the villain, her husband. He was good. I liked him.
Yeah, well, he and Daisy are both kind of the villains of the story.
They just hardly say anything about any of the characters in this movie other than Gatsby's mysterious. Okay, the movie's really vague.
Yeah, well, because a lot of the opinions and the backgrounds of the characters in the book are told through the narration.
Yeah.
And I thought that crap put him in an insane asylum thing so they could insert because that's not in the book.
Okay.
He's just I'm bored with this shit. I'm going to Minnesota. But in the movie, he goes to an insane asylum, and is telling his story to some random shrink, and the shrink's wait.
He was telling it to
Write
Bruce
it
Banner.
down. What was it, Bruce Banner?
Okay, clearly. I picked up on everything in this.
I just wasn't paying attention. I was blinded by the fireworks. But
that part was awesome.
It could have been interesting because the whole excess without actually achieving anything could be interpreted nowadays for celebrity culture and the hip hop culture, which I thought is what they were doing with the rap music.
And honestly, I thought they used that to decent effect. I got it.
It was really because the fact that they put it in there, I'm oh, okay, I see what they're doing, but they didn't insert it in the story very well. There was that one part where they were at that weird drug party where they had the really loud hip hop playing, and then it kept segueing to that guy playing the trumpet.
Yeah,
and I thought that was pretty good. But other than that, it just in the middle of a scene, and all of a sudden it just started playing Jay-Z, and it's oh, okay, we're doing this again.
Well, I mean, I didn't care much for the music, but it's not really my thing. But I certainly got why it was there. It wasn't like watching something like Man with the Iron Fist, where it looks like just somebody made a YouTube poop with rap music and a kung fu movie. But so I certainly got what they were doing, but no, I mean, it's not like it added much to it, but there's just not that much there in the movie, so there wasn't much to that, but there wasn't much to anything else either.
They didn't take it any further. It was just hey, kind of like this, you guys. Anyway, back to our movie.
And in terms of a movie about American excess, I'm sorry, Pain and Gain did it way better than this.
I still need to see that movie. It sounds really fun.
Oh my god, it is. That's a movie that is also about American excess. And to me, and again, I haven't read the book of this, so I don't know. I'm only going off of the movie here. Pain and Gain did that way more clever, way more interesting than this, showing the downside of American excess. It did. It actually had characters. It actually had a story that you're invested in. It actually had a story. This, like I said, I really didn't like this movie, but I can't get that mad because there's nothing to get mad about, really, because this was just a really vague, bland movie, and I realize that Baz Luhrmann's specialty is very much style over substance. Mm-hmm. It is, and sometimes, you know what, that can be fine. Sometimes that can still translate to entertainment. It can still be at least interesting to look at. And the movie's interesting to look at. It's well made, but there's just nothing else just there. There isn't. Things are just so... I sat there most of the time like, why is this even happening? Why is this going on? And like when the girl, and I'm sure in the book, when the girl at the end runs out in front of the car, I'm sure that makes sense. In the movie, it was, why did that just happen? Why did she just run in front of this car like that? You've read the book, so I'm sure it's answered in the book, but I'm just going off of the movie here, and it was just a lot of, why is this going on? Why should I care about this? Why is he so mysterious? There's nothing to this guy. Who cares? Who cares about any of this? Tobey Maguire's just kind of there doing nothing, and yeah, Gatsby's smug and he's rich, but so? His empty champagne glasses have more personality than he does. And that's this movie for 2.5 hours. And
that's kind of the book, is they're all just these two-dimensional people that are attempting depth but failing miserably, which is kind of what this movie was. So maybe it was just like super meta. And the thing is, you could tell where he wanted to make it more than it was. You know, it's like it's like he read, okay, the billboard was symbolic in the book, so I'll just show that a shit ton, and like the yellow car was symbolic, so I'll just show that a shit ton, just roaming down the street. And okay, the green light, I'll show that, like a bunch of random points in the movie, but it wasn't really saying anything about it. It was just like, here's a thing. Yeah. Back to the movie. Here's another thing.
Even the dialogue wasn't saying anything about anything. They're like, I want you to have tea tomorrow. Why? I don't know. Really? Like, that's most of the movie's dialogue. Like, just. and yeah, there's a lot of parties in the movies, and it's pretty to look at. The 3Ds, it's fine. It really is, and sometimes what he does with his style sometimes is kind of interesting to look at. Like how sometimes it looks like like you're watching an older movie where they have like a green screen traffic in the background where you're obviously on a stage. It does that a few times in the movie, and I like that too. It was certainly pretty to look at. But so he uses all these tricks and all the music cues and everything, and confetti, and the 3D and dancing and jazz and music and all of this just flying around screen left and right, but that was just it. I mean, I know Moulin Rouge kind of was like that. I mean, that was very much a style over substance movie, and I'm not saying I'm the biggest fan of that movie, but at least that had a little more going on with it in terms of character than this. I mean, not much, but a little bit. There was at least colorful characters in Moulin Rouge. Whether you liked them or not, whether you thought they were very three-dimensional or not, they were at least colorful. They at least were kind of over the top in a way. The only thing that's really over the top about any of the characters in this is really just how they kind of deliver their lines. They're not really saying much. It's just how they deliver their lines is very... almost like you're watching a movie from the 30s or the 40s, around there. It is. They're very hammy. They're very over the top in how they deliver their lines.
Well, the thing about it, like, some people really love the book and some people hate it. I thought it was fine. I don't think it's the second best book ever written or anything, but I mean, all the characters in it are really unlikable, and what gets you through it is his writing style and the fact that it's basically a parable, and since you've taken out both of those things, you're basically watching a movie about these really unlikable two-dimensional people. And yeah, he kept using the confetti and stuff, and it was jarring and garish instead of pretty like, Moulin Rouge or Romeo and Juliet, because it wasn't flowing. It was just kind of throwing stuff at you to distract you from the fact the story's not that good.
No, it's not, and I would honestly have preferred it if they were really unlikable characters in the movie, because...
Yeah, he tried to make them sympathetic for some reason, because, like, Daisy was having her, like, vacillate, like, oh, maybe I should call Gatsby. She didn't care. She was done with her little romance. She fucked off to Wisconsin.
Right, and that was it. But even that, it wasn't very well written enough to where I was still in the theater and was just kind of like, why? I don't get the motivation for anybody in this movie. I don't get why their emotions just change at the drop of a fucking hat like that for really minimal reasons.
Because they're vapid cunts. I mean, like, even Tom they made more likable than he was in the book.
He's very likable in this movie, and that's what I mean when I say, like, I would have preferred it if these characters were at least unlikable, because then that would have been something.
I wanted to tell you something. During that party scene when he backhanded that woman, in the book, punched her in the face, broke her nose.
Oh.
I was so mad that that didn't happen. It was like, pow, snap, and there's gush down the front of her face.
You got to see her get hit by a car in slow motion 3D.
He's a brute. They call him a brute like 20 times in the book, and this he's just kind of a smug guy.
I really wish they did it like this, like in the 1980s, because then it would have been Timothy Dalton playing him.
Sold. Oh my God, sold. Who was that guy playing?
Joel Edgerton.
Okay.
And he's good. He's the only character in this movie that you actually kind of get on a three-dimensional level.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
he was the only one actually acting instead of just kind of like play acting. I mean, I think that the actors kind of maybe they got the direction of, okay, the people you're playing are really fake people, so read your lines fakely. Unfortunately, in a movie, you know, that's going to come across as, okay, this person's a bad actor. They're not. Everyone in this movie is a really good actor. It's just in this, they're kind of delivering their lines like acting.
Yeah, and you could tell it was done stylistically.
I still didn't like it.
No, I agree with that. I agree with that. But I mean, at least in this, as opposed to it just simply being a bad performance or something like that, I at least saw that it was done just very stylistically to kind of go along with, you know, movies of the time.
I didn't think it came off that well.
No, not really. I mean, at first it was hammy enough to where it was kind of entertaining a little bit, but then old sport. The novelty wears off fast.
We should mention that when Leonardo DiCaprio shows up for the first time.
That was awesome.
Because in the book is like there's this huge build up, and then Gatsby shows up in the movie. The way they interpreted that,
they took their sweet ass time, is what they did.
He's all like, "Oh hey, old sport, I'm Gatsby." Just like tighten his face, and fireworks just start going off behind him, like.
The look on his face, the big smile. I like DiCaprio a lot, but the big smile on his face, it looked sort of like Dr. Jonathan Chase in the opening credit sequence of Manimal with fireworks behind him.
Yes.
I like that was fun. That for the first like 45 minutes, I'm like, the dialogue is essentially like, did you say Gatsby?
I wonder where Gatsby is.
I wonder where Gatsby is. I've never heard of this Gatsby. There's just
I heard he killed a man.
I heard he's
the Kaiser's 8th cousin.
Yeah, I heard he's Kaiser Soze. It was that for 45 minutes. I'm like, are you gonna tell me anything about this guy other than you know his last name? But then when he showed up, like, it's a build-up, but that actually was kind of a payoff, because that was a good shot.
I busted out laughing.
So did I.
We got people applauding at the end of this movie, and Brad's like, really? It's like, you weren't even mad about it.
No, I was just kind of surprised. I mean, this was weird. Like, I didn't expect there to be a lot of people there. And not only were there people there, but it was like we were at like a Marvel movie or something.
I know, because like I got fussed up for the fun of it, but there were girls in like flapper costumes with like the headband with the big fuck off feathers sticking out, with like a fake cigarette on a stick.
Yeah.
There were more cosplayers at this than I think there were at the Avengers.
The most cosplayers at the Avengers were just the employees, so they had to dress up like the Avengers. Then they got the fat kid to dress up like the Hulk. I remember that, because I remember being like, is that what you wanted to dress like, or did they make you dress like that?
You should have tipped him.
I should have asked him if he really wanted to be Scarlett Johansson. That would have been kind of funny.
Yeah.
Dude,
okay,
bravo, man.
we got the most boring previews in the history of previews for this one. What was that one with like a family and Julia Roberts was
I was barely paying attention to that.
It's like another one of those, a whole big family hates each other and they sit down to a meal. Movie.
It looked like, I don't know, it looked like a white Medea movie, kinda.
Yeah,
Like, sorry, Dave. That's what it looked like. I'm not saying that just because you're here. That's what it looked like. That's what I was thinking about when I was watching this trailer.
I'm not going to it.
Well, no, Medea's not actually in it.
Yeah, no. You're safe.
Yeah, I'll send Irving to that one.
Oh, God.
He'll still find a way to say something racist.
We got The Hangover 3. Although
Yeah,
apparently it does actually have a new plot this time, although it's very Ken Jeong heavy.
yeah, Brian and I got that last week, and we were both kind of like, well, on the plus side, it's got a new plot. On the
negative
downside,
it's Hangover 3.
Well, on the downside, they decided to make it about Dr. Ken.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever.
I don't have to see it. It wasn't a book originally.
Yeah, well, you're gonna be at Fast and the Furious 6 that weekend. Was that a book?
You don't know. Maybe there's an novelization.
Well, I'm sure there is, and if there is, I gotta get it for someone for their birthday.
The book was better, man.
Oh, but there was one that looked really. Did you get this preview, Dave? This actually looks really good. It's Tom Hanks versus Somalian pirates.
Oh, speaking of
No,
JFK
but I've
accents,
heard of
that was
that.
amazing.
Yeah, he's got like a Boston kind of accent in the
Like
movie
the
too.
thickest Boston accent
Yeah.
I've ever heard. And he's driving like a steamboat.
It's like a cargo ship.
Okay, and it gets Somalian pirates get on, and then it's like a chase
Yeah,
sort of movie.
I-
It looks like a lot.
I've
Of
heard it's based on a true story movie, actually.
Oh yeah, the trailer told us many times.
That's a dumb name. Though.
It's got
It was
a
like Captain
terrible
Phillips, the movie.
title.
Captain Phillips or some shit.
That's the title. The title is It looks like a really, really, really good movie. And then that title popped up. How long did it take you to come up with that, guys? Seriously? Just call it Under Siege 3.
Call it Pirates.
Yeah, call it Pirates. The Pierre Kirby story. Whatever, like, it's like titling Under Siege Casey fucking Ryback. Oh, that would have been kind of awesome.
No, you kind of disproved your point there.
Yeah. Dark territory. No, but that looked pretty intense. That did look really good, and
I was terrified by that one preview.
open water in space.
I'm not big on movies where people are just drifting in space, waiting for their heads to explode, because like the prospect terrifies me
get
to
your ass
no
to
end. And
Mars.
this is basically Sandra Bullock attached to who was the dude?
It was Clooney, wasn't
George
it?
Clooney, yeah, just like in spacesuits in space, and then all of a sudden everything starts exploding, and they're trying like hell not to just drift off into the void for what looks like the entirety of the movie. So I think that would be Sarah has a panic attack for 2 hours.
That's what I meant. I leaned over to you, and I was like, oh man, it's open water in space. That's what it is. It's open water in
What it
space.
is that one
there
scene
sharks?
in 2001:
There
A
better
Space
be.
Odyssey that terrifies me, but for the entire movie.
Whatever you do, don't watch Mission to Mars.
Don't worry, I won't.
I actually think that all joking aside about the open water thing, it does look intense. Gravity, isn't that what it was called?
Yeah, Gravity.
Yeah. The first movie I saw where Clooney played an astronaut, I really liked it. But was that about it?
I think that was it.
I mean, some of the other stuff was stuff that I've gotten before. Captain Phillips.
Yeah, Captain Phillips, boring family movie.
I don't remember the title of that.
It's called like Into the Family. They popped up like 10 different taglines was the problem, and I don't remember which
It
one was
did.
the actual movie title.
That's a really, really good
Family will
point.
lift you up. Family will bring you down.
Every time it did that, I thought it was the title of the movie. You're exactly right. That's why I can't remember the title, because every time it popped one of those sayings up, I thought that was the name. And then in Captain Phillips, I didn't think that was the title until...
Captain Phillips in Pirates.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be like Captain Phillips and his last stand. Like part of a tagline, like
Yeah.
they give you the name and then like what he's doing, and then they give you the title. No. That's just the title.
Maybe that's part of his writer is that, like, yeah, you can make a movie about my awesome pirate story, but you gotta call it
Better
Captain Phillips.
fucking name it after me. God fucking damn it. Do you have anything else to say about Gatsby?
I got nothing. It's Baz Luhrmann, but not good Baz Luhrmann, if that makes sense.
No, it does. Because Baz Luhrmann, like I said, like I said earlier, he's a style over substance director, but a lot of times that style can just work for a movie.
Oh, I adore Romeo and Juliet. I wasn't much
I do
of Moulin Rouge, but this movie was like not as good as either of those.
No.
It didn't flow and it felt kind of stilted.
I never saw Australia. So.
Nor did I.
I don't know if...
Dave, did you see Australia?
Why would I? If I want to watch, like, an Australian Western, like, I'll watch The Proposition.
Fuck yeah, dude.
Or even fucking Quigley Down Under. I mean...
Fuck yeah, Quickly Down Under.
I'll watch that before I watch fucking Australia.
I think that's about all I got. I'm surprised I went on as much as I did about it. I kind of just sat there. I was bored, but I didn't think it felt as long as it probably should have.
I laughed a couple times. There's just kind of, I left, it was like, and now the movie's gone.
Yeah, I kind of just sat there, just eyes unfocused a bit, just kind of not nodding off to sleep, but just kind of drifting off in my head, just thoughts going elsewhere. Like, I was so not invested in anything, but there was nothing to be invested in,
Dude,
honestly.
you had to leave the movie theater, I think, to like give Dave the keys or something. You come back and you're like, hey, what happened? I'm like, stuff.
That's
that
literally
basically
what
sums it up.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Because I went out there, and I said to the guys, like, "Hey, my friend left the keys in the Tyler Perry theater," and the guy's like, "Huh? I didn't know anyone was in there."
Neither did the projectionist for a while.
Oh, all right. Well, I'll get that story in the next video. Unless you're a die-hard fan of the book, I can't.
No, if you're a
recommend-
die-hard fan of the book, don't watch this movie.
Okay.
Watch the 70s one.
Is
You
that
should
the
watch
Ro-
the 70s one.
Is that the
too.
Robert Redford one?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'll check that out. But I'm gonna have to say, really skip it on this one. Just go see Pain and Gain again. That's what I did. It's the first movie since starting the website that I've gone to go see twice.
You know what? If you're a big Jay-Z fan, probably go see this movie. 'Cause it does have a lot of his songs in it, and they picked the good ones.
Did they?
Yeah, and they got a Lana Del Rey song in there too.
Oh yeah. The
The internet
soundtrack.
hates her, but I think it's kind
The
of pretty.
soundtrack was funny. All right. Well, see you next week at
Tra.
Star Trek.